In this video, we're going to be talking about marketing yourself on Instagram. And the great news is I've got a great guest with me today. I've got a lady called Mayah Camara. Mayah has been recording since the age of 12 and her influences include 80s and 90s R&B, pop, retro wave and neo-soul music. Her adaptive and diverse vocal style has quickly made her a sought-out artist for collaborations and features across a variety of musical genres. So without further ado, let's get on with the interview.
I use Facebook not much. I'm not going to lie. It's probably my least favorite of the social platforms to use. Instagram's my primary social media, and then Twitter, which you see me around on a lot, I'm sure. So, yeah, Instagram, I find it to be the most friendly of social media platforms. There tends to be a lot less trolling and things that take place on Instagram, which is another reason I like it. You don't have so much political stuff. You kind of see what you engage with because of how the algorithms work. And it just so happens that through jobs and stuff I've had in my paid career, I've ended up either running their social media for them or being heavily involved with their social media. And I also, a few years ago, I was running a plus size fashion blog. So I kind of just landed in Instagram a few years back, and I kind of got very, very familiarized with the platform. It just so happens that from everything that I've researched on it, it's the most popular in terms of brands and industry. And they put the most money into Instagram as far as advertising and so on. So it does seem to be one that's worth investing in if people want to do well.
I'm with you.
But it will take, I'm not going to lie to anybody listening right now, it's time consuming.
Sure.
It takes planning to run Instagram.
Can I just interrupt you there? So you're not on TikTok, you're not on Snapchat. It is literally just like Twitter.
I have Snapchat, but I don't really use it too often. I think Instagram, I think, stole a lot of Snapchat users once they introduced Instagram stories and put filters and things in, which seemed to be what Snapchat was heavily popular for.
Yep.
TikTok, I've tried. I don't vibe with it. And I know I should probably revisit it, but maybe I'm a bit old. I find it a bit young for me.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe I need to give TikTok a second try. But thus far, I'm not vibing too well with it. But I will assess that situation. Yeah.
So out of all the platforms, then, and obviously we've got you on the podcast to talk about Instagram, but Instagram is your favorite platform out of the spectrum of social media platforms. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Your following is amazing. You've got over 12,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
It'd be nice just to give us a little insight into how you managed to grow it to such a large scale, because when you look at most of the musicians on Instagram, they haven't grown it to such a size. So it'd be interesting to see from your perspective how you actually did that.
Yeah. So I'm not going to lie, with Instagram, it can be a slow start. There's different things that sort of come into play from what I see with Instagram. People pay attention, of course, because it's a very visual platform, to having a good visual presence on there. So photos have to be a certain quality, I find. Unless you're in a very, for example, as you know, I do synthwave music and stuff like that. Unless you are into very electronic stuff and pixelated images is popular, it's not going to fly well if you have really old, pixelated, bad quality photographs. So that's one thing.
Okay.
So yeah, having a good, strong photo or visual is helpful. The caption that you use is helpful. The type of hashtags, how many hashtags, how often you post. There's many different factors which we can, of course, get into if you want.
Of course. So when you first started, then it was quite slow, you were saying.
Yeah, when I started my Instagram, maybe I don't know how many years ago now, but it was still quite new at the time. So you couldn't edit captions at this time. Um, there was no Instagram stories. There was no Instagram live. It was only visual imaging posts when I started. And basically, at the time, I guess you could say there wasn't really this thing of influencers. They were very new. A lot of the bloggers and vloggers were doing their thing on Twitter and YouTube at the time, and Instagram just took on a life of its own. It took on from Pinterest, from what I saw, because it was more user friendly. And I kind of just landed in there because I thought, well, everybody I know seems to be setting up an Instagram. Let me set up an Instagram. At the time, I was on a music hiatus. I had a little bit of history. I had a 9-year break from music.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yes, that's too long, right? Due to a few personal issues and family issues and things of that nature. So I wasn't using my Instagram for music. And then I kind of landed in plus size fashion, just because I'm a bigger girl, everybody knows that. And I started just showcasing, oh, we now have nice clothes that we can wear, because we didn't for years.
Sure.
And then people started to email me and would be like, can we send you some clothes? Can you take pictures and put them on your Instagram?
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So for quite a few years, I was running a blog. I was being sent clothing, taking pictures. And again, I had to upgrade. I couldn't be taking pictures on my phone. I had to use proper cameras, take them outside, natural lighting, all this kind of stuff. Was invited to press events and so on. And so for a few years, if you scroll way down in my Instagram, you're going to see a lot of fashion content.
Okay. Have you picked up any tips from what we've been talking about today, and have you found them useful? If you have, leave a comment down below and Maya and myself will go through the comments and answer any questions that you might have. Also, if I can ask you to like this video, because the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm, likes you liking these videos so we can actually show these videos to more people. Also, if you have the chance, if you can subscribe and hit the bell notification, that means whenever I post a video, you get a notification, and I'd really appreciate that. Let's get back to the interview.
And I'd say I probably built my first, let's say, 3,000 to 4,000 followers in plus size fashion.
I see.
And then I was like, I need to make my music again. So music crept in. It was interwoven for a while. There was music stuff and fashion stuff, and it wasn't a consistent branding, if you will, which I had to slowly try and iron out. And I will go back through my old feed and start deleting bits and pieces just to clean that up a bit. But
I'm with you.
Yeah, so it just, being in the fashion side of things, I was able to actually really see how influencers were using the platform. They use it very differently to how musicians use it, in terms of the kind of captions they use, the kind of hashtags they use, the sort of visuals. And just looking at that was a bit of education for me in terms of what's getting good engagement here, what's getting people going. And so some of the things I've learned there, I've applied in my music stuff, and it works a little bit. So it's there's a bit of trial and error involved with Instagram, but it's probably the platform that people invest the most time in, I would say. You know, Twitter, you get 200 something characters. You can throw a little comment out. If people engage with it, they engage with it. If they don't, they don't. With Instagram, you kind of want people on your posts, posting, commenting, and so on. So what you post is quite important, really.
I'm with you.
And so, yeah, once I started putting music stuff up, at this point, they'd introduce stories and things of that nature. And so I kind of started to think, this story thing it seems to, like I say, it's taken over from Snapchat. People are migrating from Snapchat onto here.
Sure. And
my personality doesn't always come fully across in text form. I'm quite loud and quite, bubbly and whatnot. Yeah, so I think So I was using my stories to just kind of express that I'm a little bit wacky and a little bit fun and this and that. And people were just engaging with me, in short. Well, not in short, in long form, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you come up with the ideas? Because obviously you pretty much, it looks like you're actually on there each day. And one of the problems I see a lot of musicians have is actually coming up with the ideas and in knowing actually what to post on Instagram. So if you could just explain a little bit about your thought process in what you do in order to get the ideas for the post, that'd be great.
Sure. Well, first thing, it's funny you mentioned that, because quite a lot of my musician friends have, a lot of them have asked me this question, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, rule number one, and this is the thing that I think is weird with some social media platforms, because you have, how you interact with them is different from place to place. With Instagram, you have to treat it the way you would treat it as a consumer.
Right.
If you're dealing with artists, you don't want to see every single post, buy my new thing, buy my new thing, buy my new thing, which is really weird, because we would expect that you have to promote.
Sure.
But what people want to see is your personality. So of course promote your stuff, but you have to interweave other content around that. So,
of course,
because otherwise you're just going to lose followers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because
People
you get a
will
lot
get
of engagement on
irritated
your
with that.
posts as well, don't you? A lot of engagement, a
Here
lot of
and there,
comments.
yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie to people. Just like with Twitter, you will get a lot of this follow unfollow behavior
Okay.
that people do. So don't be surprised if you see, oh, I've gained 15 followers, and then the next day you've lost 7 or whatever. Like that's kind of to be expected.
Yeah, that's a norm.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people message me and they're like, why do I keep getting people unfollowing me? And they get really upset with it, but it is just part and parcel of the platform. So
yeah,
I wouldn't really watch your followers too often, because they're going to yo-yo like crazy anyway.
They are.
For me, I find that the kind of it's funny. Sometimes I pre-plan my posts. And I think, oh, okay, tomorrow I'll post about this, or I'll put this type of image up. And sometimes I just think, okay, well, what am I in the mood to put up today? Like,
okay.
So I don't, I mean, some people use various different software, things like Hootsuite and stuff, and they will schedule their post for the next month. I personally don't do that. I kind of post as I go.
Okay.
Just because things creep up, things happen, a world event happens that you might want to post about instead, or just something interesting pops up, and then you'd have to reschedule everything and realign everything. So I do it as I go. I find that if you do the kind of posts where you are asking for conversation, they seem to do well.
Okay.
So if you either put up some sort of a question, or you drop a motivational comment or something of that nature, people will respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
If it's very much just like, hey, I'm here and I'm fabulous, people are going to be like, well, are you? Who are you? Like,
absolutely. Yeah. I see that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, even though you're putting images up of yourself, the content doesn't necessarily have to be about you at all. It could be your thought for the day, or your viewpoint on something else, just as a way of getting people into another conversation. I find that you don't want to write a caption that's that's a basic essay. Mm-hmm. People aren't going to stick around to read too long of a caption, but you also don't want one that's too short.
Okay.
So it's kind of,
it's finding that happy medium.
Yeah, a happy medium. I would say a couple sentences, enough to grab people, is kind of where I would go.
Sure.
I also find that the hashtags you use can help as well.
Okay.
Now you can use up to 30 hashtags per post. I maybe wouldn't advise using all 30. From what I see, people who tend to use between 5 and 10, that seems to be a nice number.
Okay.
One thing a lot of people do is they'll choose a hashtag that has millions of followers on it, I would go against doing that, actually. Although they seem to be the really popular hashtags and you think, yeah, great, people interact with this hashtag, I'm going to use that hashtag. It's not wise, because so many people are using it that your post is going to get swallowed in that feed.
Right.
Less people are going to see your post.
Sure.
So my advice would be, if you find a hashtag in your niche, whatever that niche is, whatever style of music that is or entertainment that is, one that's within tens or 20 or 30 or, you know, several thousand is probably a nicer number. So I tend to try and look for the ones that are between 10 and 100,000, maybe 200,000 max.
Okay.
In terms of how many posts are on those.
I'll just explain as well, to find that out is literally just typing in the hashtag and typing in the actual word and then seeing what comes up, and it shows you the amount that comes up. Is that right?
It will show you the amount, yeah. The ones that don't tend to have any number on, sometimes those are now broken hashtags, or they're now they're deactivated hashtags, because they were either too popular, or perhaps they've had certain content that maybe is against guidelines or something of that nature. A lot of those are deactivated, so maybe avoid those. One thing people need to remember with Instagram is that your follow count doesn't mean that you're gonna, like, if you have a high following, it doesn't mean you're gonna have loads of interactions at all.
Sure.
How the algorithms work, and they change constantly, so it takes paying attention to them. But Instagram will push your post to the 10% of people who engage most with you.
Right. Okay.
So you might be following someone and never see their stuff unless you regularly engage with them.
Of course.
So this is why, for me, most of my promo I do in my stories.
Okay.
Rather than on my posts all the time, because you can keep hashing out the same stuff on your stories, because not everybody's watching your stories every single day.
Sure.
You might get somebody who's missed it, who you posted it last week for. So, but in the posts themselves, yeah, don't be surprised if you're not seeing all your followers interact with you. What I do is, if I've posted something and I've used, say, 5 hashtags, I'll go into those hashtags and I will interact with, firstly, I'll click into the hashtag, go into the recent tab, and I'll interact with the top most recent posts in that hashtag.
That's interesting. I didn't know you did that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do that. so
this is all going on underneath that. Yeah, I did not know that.
This is what I mean when I say Instagram takes work.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, I would go into my recent tab, like I say, go into maybe the top 5 or 10 posts within that tab and comment.
And do you do this daily, or is it just when you feel like doing it?
Most days, I'm not gonna lie. I try and do it daily, but it's effort.
Yeah.
So if I'm just sitting around and the telly's on, that's when I'll be Instagramming or something of that nature. I just do it when I'm not doing anything major.
Yeah.
Or if something's rendering on my computer or whatever, then I'm like, okay, let's get on the gram.
Yeah, I feel
do
you
my little bit for the day. So yeah, that's one thing I find. If you engage with the most recent posts within your hashtags that you've just posted, those people are often live, so they will come right onto your account and comment on your posts a lot of the time, and you often get followers this way.
Okay, that's interesting.
And you're getting followers within your niche now. So you're not just posting to whomever. It's people who are interacting with the same type of content as you. So that's one thing that I do. Another thing I do is, sometimes that you're not familiar with, I'll go into who's liked my post and engage on their comments on their posts.
Sure.
Again, it gets you followers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not all of them will stay with you, because you do have this follow-unfollow nature. But again, it's, if somebody's taken the time to interact with you and then you return the favor, that's a genuine engagement. Instagram favors engagement.
Sure.
More so than likes.
Yeah, likes aren't
And it,
really that important, are they?
not particularly, no. I find that with Instagram, if you've done a post, you want to be engaging within the first hour of that post being published.
Sure.
It seems to make a difference. The more you engage within the first hour, the better it seems to work for your post.
Sure. So what you're saying is then, if you post something like now, for that first hour,
Mhm.
it's a good idea to have a look to see what engagement you get, so you can actually reply. So then it obviously increases engagement.
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
yeah. And I would say try to respond to your comments as, maybe not in direct real time if you're busy or whatever, but yeah, if somebody comments, try to respond fairly soon afterwards, because what happens is you might get a bit of back and forth, you might get a bit of engagement going.
Sure.
That keeps people on your post. All these things, if you have a business account, or if you have an Instagram influencer account, when you go into your insights, so this is in the back end,
Okay.
it will show you your average engagement time, how long people have been on the posts for, what kind of posts people interact best with, what kind of stories people interact best with. And this all works off of what you're doing a lot of the time too.
Sure.
um
I would say
so
as
again,
well, sorry to interrupt, the insights, that's probably more on the
mhm,
business side of things, isn't it? You need a business
yeah,
account in order to do that. So if you've got a personal account, you can't get
mhm,
the insights of the statistics of what's gone on in your
no.
account. But if you can, it's quite easy to switch it to a business account, isn't it? You can just
Oh,
go
it's
into your
literally a
settings. Yeah.
2 second thing. Yeah, it's
Sure.
a 2 second thing. But if you're a musician, producer, if you're in this field, I'd advise having a business account or a influencer account. They're basically the same thing.
Sure.
um because you get all this kind of data. So for example, most of my followers, or I would say the largest amount of my followers, are in America, England, and Africa, weirdly enough. So if I'm going to post, I work around those time scales. So
Okay.
I think, okay, if I'm posting and let's say 50% of my followers are in the States, I'm mindful of I'm either 5 hours in front or 8 hours in front of
Sure.
those people.
Yep.
So I will try and post for evening time when they're at home chilling, they've just had their dinner, they're just on their phones because they're more likely to see my posts.
And that's UK.
UK or in America,
Okay. Yeah.
I'll kind of work around when are my audience just chilling on their phone.
Sure.
UK, I think who's on their way to work on the morning commute on their phone, or who's just at home after dinner on their phone. These I know it's a bit weird way of thinking, but it seems to be a smart way of thinking, because people are
Sure.
more likely to engage again within that first hour who's on their phone. Most people won't think that way. They'll just put a post out. And I've been guilty of it myself. Sometimes you're just on the go and you think, oh, I need to post today. But if you're trying to be strategic,
Mhm.
especially if you have a new album out, a new single out or something, and you're trying to get people talking with you, think about those things. This is why your insights are good, because it will tell you between hour 3 p.m. on a Friday and 6 p.m., you had the most engagement in those times.
I'm with you.
So I would use your insights to help gauge when to maybe go live. If you like to do Instagram live, if you're just going to do a post, a reel, in IGTV, your insights will help you establish when is the best time for you, because it will differ from person to person. There isn't really a core time. Like in the early days of Instagram, it was very much like Thursday evenings UK time about 6 p.m. post something for whomever, and it seemed to be a big thing. Now it's more your individual insights, who's rolling with your account.
I'm with you.
And yeah, Instagram live, speaking of that, I've gained followers on Instagram live. I don't know
Okay.
how they see me, because you would assume it's only your followers who see your lives.
Sure.
No. I've had people pop in on my Instagram live. I don't know who they are. They don't follow me.
Hmm.
And just through engaging, I've gained followers that way.
Wow.
I don't know if they come through the hashtags, if Instagram Explore helps in that area. So if you can go live, and I need to do more of it myself, but try to do it, whether it be to just chat and engage, if you're a musician, to play, to sing, to produce, whatever your thing is, people, again, because ultimately, like you say, if you're marketing yourself, people need to know what they're buying, aside from the songs or whatever.
Sure.
Often people buy into your personality. Instagram is very much a personality platform. And that's what I think is different to say Twitter and things. Twitter, you can just put some sort of a nugget of thought out there, or promote an article, or put some retweets, some politics page or something like that. But with Instagram, it's very much what you're putting out about yourself. So
do you
the
think
more
that's
you're on it, the better.
Do you think that's a problem with a lot of musicians? They don't understand the context of the different platforms. Say, for example, if we're using Twitter and Instagram as an example, they pretty much post the exact same content on Twitter as what they post on Instagram, but they don't treat it differently. They kind of treat it the same. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah. And I understand that if your Instagram is linked to your Twitter, for example, when you put a post out and it just automatically publishes it, for example.
Sure.
But there's different audiences. Most people use one or two platforms, or some people use all of them. But I find they're very different audiences. Twitter's more conversational in the fact that it's just people just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you can pretty much talk about what you ate for lunch today on Twitter. Whereas I know people like to post food pictures and stuff on Instagram, but no, I don't really do that myself. But yeah, I think you have to kind of look at what works on there. And when you look at fashion influencers, for example, who have sometimes hundreds of thousands of followers, if you read their captions, it's not often about the clothes. Like, many of them will have a really slick looking shot. It looks like a catalog photo, and they're giving you a motivational tip for the day, or they're just putting some sort of interesting anecdote in their comments.
Sure.
Because it's more about, let me show you the person behind the image, in short.
Yeah. In fact, it's really good to look at those accounts, isn't it, to get some ideas?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially because, and this is the thing that a lot of musicians can benefit from, because the industry watches Instagram and brands watch Instagram, and promotional opportunities and ways to make money can come through Instagram. So some of the producers I know have been sent super expensive, high quality headphones and stuff that if they post one or two shots in, or they're in their stories in it, they get to keep that, that bit of gear that might cost them 600, 700, 800 quid, just because they've put a post on Instagram. Or some people get asked to promote a new streaming service, or a new store that sells plugins or whatever. So if you're a producer, for example, because it's more visual, and because it's linked to the Facebook side of things, and you can literally, where you put your location geotags, which is also another thing I would advise people to do, tag locations in your post. People can find you that way also.
Sure.
But you can also let people know if it is a sponsored post that way. So if someone has gifted you something, or they paid you money to do a post, which can happen on Instagram too, it's a really good way of just being very clean and concise about what you're doing and how you're doing it, and that kind of thing.
I'm with you.
There's a lot of perks to Instagram, like I say, being sent products to possibly showcase and review, which you do get to keep. Sometimes you get paid to do both, so you get to keep the thing and you get paid. But it's also, I just find it's definitely Instagram is probably it's probably a platform that's good for marketing in this area.
I'm with you.
But I'm not going to lie, it's time consuming.
Now, I noticed that you use the posts and the stories very different. So you don't post every day, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like you actually post a story every day, or like a combination of different stories. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think with Instagram, you have to try and use it daily. You don't necessarily have to post within your feed daily.
Sure.
You can. Some people I know post multiple times a day, but that to me is also a lot more work, because you have to be mindful of that first hour, the comments, the hashtags, the this, the that. So if you have a day job and you've got kids and all the other stuff that a lot of people have, you might not want to be doing that. Whereas the story is a quick thing, 15 seconds, boom, there you go.
And the stories are 24 hours as well. They're just up there for 24 hours, aren't they?
They are for 24 hours, yeah. Obviously Instagram Reels is slightly new. It's a bit similar to stories, only they're a little bit longer than the 15 seconds if you want them to be, and they will post into your feed also. So the similar kind of content you would put in a story, but you might want it to be permanent. So a reel is good for that. And IGTV can be up to 10 minutes. So you can do, like a little vlog or put your music video on there or something of that nature. And then the hashtags and all the other stuff. So, but yeah, when I use the Insta stories, what I like to do, like I say, you don't just want to be buy my music. No. I do a thing where I post my favorite song of the day. If there's a song I'm really vibing to, that's not my own materials, could be something from 20 years ago or whatever, I'll post that. If a friend of mine has just dropped something, I'll maybe advertise their thing for them and show people, check out my friend's new album or something of that nature, or a quote. It could be anything really with the stories. It's just a fun way to just get engagement, to get people used to you, what you're about, which then leads me into the bio.
Okay.
A lot of people don't really have bios that match their feed.
Okay. Yeah.
I think what you write in your bio, if it reflects the kind of stuff you post, this helps. So for example, if your bio said that you're a young mum, political activist or whatever, and all you do is post about food, then it doesn't really, people are going to be like, really? I'm expecting to see stuff about political activism, maybe child rearing tips, whatever. Like, people want to see what you've already put in those first few words on your bio. So that's another thing that I would be mindful of. If you're a musician, post music content. It doesn't just have to be your own. It could be, quotes from musicians that have inspired you. Just bits and pieces here and there.
If we can go back to the stories just quickly, because you're quite a ninja on the stories, and that's I look at a lot of Instagram accounts and
ninja,
it's a ninja account, I'm telling you. I'm impressed in the quality of the post that you, obviously it's not all your content, but it's other content. Maybe for the audience you can kind of just give us like an insight in actually how you do that, because I know we spoke previously and you explained, but it'd be really nice for you to explain how you do that in your Instagram stories for the audience.
Okay, so do you mean like how I have like real sort of like colorful motion type graphics in my stories?
Yeah, you've got that, plus you've got, obviously we talked previously about videos. You've got like music videos in there, and I know it's only, is it like a few seconds of a clip, but how do you actually get hold of those? If you're not using software, how do you get hold of those and then post it to your stories? Just give us a basic kind of explanation, that's all.
Okay, cool. So when I do my song of the day, I like to use a music video, because
so
again,
you do a song of the day first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every day.
Right.
Yeah. Hashtag song of the day, and I'll have 15 seconds of a music video. Okay. You can't really post more than that on Instagram, otherwise your site, your page can be impacted, because I guess it's false advertising. Well, it's unpaid advertising in a way. But this also helps. You don't have to really think about it too much, because the stories are only 15 seconds long, unless you want a whole minute and it's story after story after story of the same video, which I don't do. I maybe put like a bit of the chorus in or something like that. So I have two ways of getting the clips. I use an app called Repost app, which everybody knows. If you ever want to repost someone else's content, Repost app is the way to go. I think you can pay, well, it is free, but if you don't want the person's tag as part of the image, You can pay, I think it's $5 one-off fee, and you can post the post without the tag.
Right.
But I would still credit people in your caption. So if you're using artwork from somebody, make sure you credit people. Be nice about it. But yeah, there's a lot of music accounts that will post music videos. So you can lift videos that way, or you can go on to whatever your streaming platform is, YouTube, Ustream, whatever it might be, and you can video screen record the music video, and then you can either crop it or whatever, and then just place it into your stories.
And again, you're using software for that, or are you using like the kind of like an app on your phone that comes with the phone? Or
no, I'm just screen recording off my phone. Basically, I'm not using any external apps for that. Instagram often will match the actual coloring. So for example, if there's a music video that's shot outside and it's a blue sunny day, when you pop it in your stories, the backdrop might just be blue. It might so it just looks clean and tidy. And then I tend to throw in a few GIFs, things of that nature. I think Instagram like when you use what they've given you.
Sure.
So the stickers, the GIFs, all this kind of stuff I throw in.
Okay.
Again, it's a bit of content. It's different. Sure. It's not necessarily you selling anything. It's just, here's what I'm into. Is a bit about me. I like this track.
Sure.
So that's one thing I do. Spotify, as we know, is linked to Instagram. So if your distributor puts your music through Instagram, when you go and search for songs, your own songs could be in the stories. So you could promote your own material that way with a fun visual, or with the cover art or whatever.
Sure.
Or your friend's music, same way. Or you can, through Spotify, link your account so people can just tap on the top left-hand corner. It will drag them straight into your Spotify. Sure. So there's different interesting ways you can use that. I like to use a lot of videos and things just because I like things that are bright and colorful and visual. Some Instagram stories are very boring in my view. Just a basic quote with nothing going on. If I ever have a basic quote, I like to put a song with it.
I'm with you.
Just to have a little bit of flavor. But yeah, like also with the stories, because you have to also be mindful, most people have their phone on silent. So if you're doing a video talking, I find if you have a little sentence explaining what you're talking about, they might tap it open and listen to it.
Sure. And
you can hashtag your stories as well. So I wouldn't overload it with hashtags, maybe 1 or 2 tops.
Okay. Again, you can access that in the stickers, the hashtags, yeah? Just go into the stickers, and then there's a hashtag little option there, isn't there?
Yeah. In the stickers, you can only use 1 hashtag.
Right.
You can manually write a hashtag in if you're putting in text.
Okay.
So this is why I say you don't want to use too many. If you're going to tag people, I think you can tag up to 10 people using the stickers. So that's another thing. Also, there's polls, there's questions, there's interactive features that you can put into your stories that people can vibe with and engage with. And as you say, the stories last 24 hours, but if you've done a poll or if you've done something of that nature, you can go back in the next 24 hours and you can either share share question results, poll results. If you've missed the 24 hours and you're like, oh no, I forgot how to post that. If you go in your archives, you can then share the results that way. So
I'm with you.
Yeah. I'm still thrown by the ninja comment. That's cool.
I don't throw that out often, so you know.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Well, I only say it because, like I said, you go to a lot of musicians' accounts and you don't see the quality of posts that they post that you post. So yeah, it stands out. Oh,
thank you. Because you know why? I think, like I say, coming from a influencer blogger background on Instagram specifically, I've just watched and learned what people do. And I use a couple of apps so for example, if I have a photo and I want to promote, I have a new post. Because like I say, you have some people that just watch stories and they won't really look at the feed. So if I have a new post, I'll maybe use one of my photo apps, spruce up that image and stick it in a story and be like hashtag new post.
Okay.
Like check out my feed sort of thing.
Yeah, why not?
Some people do that. I see a lot of influencers do that. So again, don't assume that those who watch your stories will see your posts and vice versa.
Sure.
The other thing is, and this is another reason why I encourage engagement early, is because the more likes and comments you get within the first hour, the more likely you are to fall into the explore page.
Right. Okay.
Which we all see, where there's just random posts from random people, and you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. And
Sure.
and you notice how it's always posts with a lot of traction on them.
Yeah.
So this is why choosing the right hashtags and stuff can be useful, because if you're using popular hashtags that aren't super busy and you're engaging with them and you're getting comments and things, if you fall into the explore page, you might get all kinds of followers that way.
I'm with you.
I've known a friend of mine, I think, posted something one time, it fell into the explore page and they gained like 1,000 followers that day.
Wow.
Like, it can happen.
Wow.
It's not happened to me yet, I wish, but it can happen. So yeah, just be interesting with how you post. Different people use it different ways. Like, I know some people who their entire feed is one color scheme,
Sure.
for example, and some people like that. Some people engage well with that. So for example, if their color scheme is black, white and red, every photo, either they're wearing black, white and red, they have a filter that's black, white and red. If they have a quote, it's black, white or red. It's just like real uniform. Some people do that and it looks really, really slick and really clean. I personally don't do that because I like too much color.
I'm with you. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so there's just there's different ways that people use it and different ways that people can make it look cool. But
sure,
the key thing I would say is try not to overthink it also, though, because then it takes the fun out of it and then it feels like a chore. Like,
sure.
You want to be mindful of what do people like on this platform, what do people engage well with on this platform, but not to the point where you're thinking, oh no, I've not posted anything today, oh my life's over with. Like, stick a story up, do you know what I mean? Like, so that's yeah.
So can we touch on, you just brought out a new track. Which new track is it? Just remind me.
Well, okay, so I brought out my album.
Okay, so yeah, I saw your album. I do apologize. Yeah,
that's all right. So my album's called The Calling,
right?
And that came out on the 14th. And I guess you could say I'm pushing one song a lot in the promo, a song called Rescuer.
Okay.
Which is doing quite well.
And you use Instagram as a platform to launch that as well, I presume?
Yeah.
Because I'm looking on your feed now, and there's a very lovely picture of you in the water, set across a nice little background. So if you could talk about that for a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, so it's funny.
How did that come about?
I did that photo shoot nearly 2 years ago. I've been holding on to these pictures for that long.
It's a great image, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For this particular album has been quite a long process to make. But I knew I wanted to shoot in the sea. I don't know why. Anyone who knows me knows I'm obsessed with seas and sunsets. If you look at my stories, if ever I see a sunset, I'm putting it in the stories. It's just the way it's gonna go.
Sure. I noticed.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted a shot on the beach in the sunset, and it just happened to work. It was a pinkish sunset. I had a pink dress on. Win-win. How did that? Yeah, so I chose that kind of image, and just because it was just, I guess it kind of expressed, freedom. It expressed the fact that who knows what's going to go beyond the horizon.
Sure.
Sky's the limit. It says a lot. Yeah. So simple, but also there's a lot going on if you look on it that way. And as far as how I revealed it, I thought, okay, I've seen a lot of people do the split posts. So for those who don't know, that's when you have one shot and someone's used a particular app and it's been broken into 9 posts.
Right. Okay.
So that on the Instagram grid, it's almost puzzle pieces of one big shot.
Sure.
And I wanted to do that. Content, you can hashtag each one of them. You can get comments on each one of them. And then if somebody pops onto your feed and sees the whole spread, it's just a nice chunk on the spread. And I thought it's a good way of breaking up all the previous stuff and being like, hey, new chapter, this album. And so that was kind of my way around that.
And what did you use to do that? Did you use an app to design that then with the grid?
Yeah, basically, there's, if you go on to, whether you have Android or whether you have iPhone, if you go into your app store, there's tons of apps where you can split the posts that way.
Sure.
I'm not gonna lie, I forget the name of the one I used, and because we're on this call, I can't go and check.
That's okay.
But you basically just stick your photo in, the app splits it for you, and it tells you which order to post each block. So it will say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Right, okay.
So yeah, otherwise you might mess it up yourself, especially if you've got like how I had sea and sky, and it all starts to look the same in areas and stuff.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just simple ads. Simple app will just split it for you, and couldn't be easier. And most of those apps are free. The one I used was.
So when you're launching your album, did you have like a thought process of, right, I need to post certain things on Instagram at this time, or I need to post certain things on Instagram just before launch? What was your thought process there? Because obviously,
yeah,
I've seen a lot of your posts, and then when you came to your launch, I noticed that they slightly changed, and you started posting things that are slightly different to what you were posting previously.
Yeah, I did. I find different people do it differently. I didn't want to be putting the cover out for weeks or months ahead of time, because I thought if I do that, it's going to take the shine off the project. If everyone's seen it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, who's going to care by the time I drop the album? So I thought, let me do this, let's say a week to a week and a half before I release it. So it's still fresh. It's still like, oh, okay, interesting shot. I've seen Mayah's album cover, blah, blah, blah. And then bang, album's here. So that was kind of my plan. And then because I'd done that whole grid thing, I thought, okay, the pinks, the blues, I'm just going to use a lot of imaging in this color span because I like those colors and it fits with the shot.
Yeah.
But I also didn't want to have, again, my album's out constantly. So it was just random bits of engagement within the color scheme. I had a couple of video clips that I'd used. One was a promotional video I did for the first single ages ago. So I thought, let me repost that. That was a stories post that I'd had. I thought, now they've put reels in. I'll repost it and it will sit in the reels. And again, advertising for one of the songs on the album. Recycle your old content. Why not?
Absolutely.
And another one, I just kind of had a little play about. I kind of stuck a filter on my face, sung a chorus to my song Broken. Then I went into another editing app, threw my logo in, put some text in, so it looked a bit like an ad, put a glitch on it, stuck it as a reel, and again, visual content. I just feel like in these times you have to be creative. With everybody being either restricted on where they can go, with lockdowns in places, I wasn't able to shoot a lot of the content I'd initially had planned for my launch. I'd planned to shoot a good 2-3 music videos. There was a lot of things I'd wanted to do that coronavirus put a halt to. So I had to be creative. So it was lyric videos here and there, just different bits of content. But yeah, people seem to like videos on Instagram as well, I find.
And do you find that the videos do better than the images, or there's no real correlation?
They can do. Only with the videos, in my personal experience, I might not get as many likes, but I tend to get more comments with the videos.
Interesting.
Because I guess you can see a lot of different views and stuff. Like you can see X amount of people have viewed this, and then you might get a lot of commentary. I think if you're going to have a stationary image, sometimes it has to be quite striking. Whereas with a video, not so much. As long as there's, as long as there's a good track playing, or if you're saying something, sometimes people just vibe with that. It doesn't have to be as clean and as professional looking as a still image. So I think videos can work quite well on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. And just wrapping things up a little bit then. So if there are 3 takeaways you could give for people to improve their engagement on Instagram and how to promote their music on Instagram, what would they be? What would be your top 3, should I say? What would you recommend?
So number 1, engagement.
Okay.
So not just answering your own comments that come into your own feed, not just engaging with the similar hashtags either. Jump into conversations. People that you follow, if you see certain people saying stuff in the comments, reply to them. Get yourself in conversations with people the same way you would if you was on Twitter. Just jump in on conversations. Engage with people, make it more of a conversation. Social media should be a 2-way thing, in my opinion. A lot of people, it's all about me.
Yeah.
But I find if you do vibe with people and you converse with people, you will get more people engaging with you and following you. So that's my first tip. My second would be pay attention to those who show you love.
Okay.
If you have people who engage with you a lot, they like your stuff a lot, they comment on your stuff a lot. What I have been known to do is I slide into someone's DM and I'll drop them a voice note and just be like, hey, how you doing? I really like your feed. I really like da-da-da. Thanks for showing me love. Appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. And oftentimes people are like, wow, it's really nice to hear your voice. It's such a personal touch.
Yeah.
No one ever does that, blah, 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 blah. And I've been known to gain followers that way, because you might get some people engage with you that don't follow you. That happens a lot. Mm-hmm. So sometimes just putting yourself outside of the box like that, whether you drop someone a voice note or a quick video in the direct messages, people won't see it coming. They don't expect it. No. And it's often a more personable approach. It kind of breaks down this, oh, this person's an artist thing and I can't approach them. And which, I like to see my sort of followers, and I guess if you use the word fans, as almost like friends. Because I feel like if you're going to take the time out of all the musicians out there, if you're going to take the time to engage with me, I'd rather really get to know you, because
absolutely,
there's a lot of people dropping music out there. And for anyone that has Spotify will know over 40,000 songs or something get put out every single day. So
it's a lot.
If you can show love to people who show love to you, it goes a long way.
Exactly.
And the third thing, like you were saying, how to promote, I would say, and sometimes this might cost money. It depends how you want to do it. If you have a new single out or a new album out or whatever, to have a striking story or video. With the videos, you can go up to 59 seconds long. So you can put a decent chunk of your song out on that, let people hear it. If you were then to sponsor that as a promotional ad, you got that song going around, people will hear your music and click in possibly. It's quite hard to sell music just off of a visual. So if you can have something that's striking with something playing in the back, that tends to help. Same with the stories. Now, you don't always have to pay. I know us musicians, we spend a lot of money on mastering and everything else, and you think more money got to go on this. Really? There's a lot of cool ads. There's a lot of cool apps out there that have really nice filters and really funky effects and stuff that you can use your cover art and do fun things with for free.
Sure.
Or you can pay maybe £5-6 for the app. Have a somewhat upgraded version of the app, and you can use that same app all year round and use it on all your posts. So rather than pay someone £30 or £40 per ad, you might pay your little fee, and then you've got that app and you can do your own little fancy stuff with your content. But yeah, people are really up in their game with visuals, so
Sure.
you don't want to be left behind. So I would say look at what's, spend some time on Instagram, look at the explore page, look at the accounts that do well, and see what kind of content are people reacting with. Why does this post have 1,000 likes on it? What kind of comments is being written? What sort of caption is being written? Pay attention and see how you can apply those things to your own, because you might think you're putting something really cool out, and you might well be, but not everybody will see it the same way.
Yeah, no, you're
So
right.
sometimes you got to sort of play the game a little bit and interject
Sure.
your own personality within those
Yeah.
parameters, I think. So
Yeah, exactly.
those would be my takeaways. They've worked for me, let's just say that.
No, I'm working really well. So look, Mayah, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I've got to get you on again because there's a lot that we didn't talk about I would like to go into, but it's probably too much in this particular podcast. But if people want to find you, obviously that you're on Instagram, but if you could just let us know where we can find you, and obviously if somebody wants to follow you as well, that'd be great.
Yeah, cool. So on Instagram, you can find me Mayah.Camara, and Twitter at Mayah Camara. And yeah, slide into my DMs, drop me comments. I do answer. I am approachable. I know some people say it and they don't engage. And yeah, my word is my bond. I've just been talking about this stuff, so now you guys can test me on it and make
Fantastic.
sure I do.
Yeah, no pressure. And
pressure.
Is there anything else that you wanted to add that I didn't talk about in this podcast, or
What in regards to social media?
Yeah, in regards to Instagram in particular. Have I
Yeah, like I was saying before, insights and things is an important thing.
Sure.
Many people ask me about the swipe up feature, and if I feel if it's helped me in any way. Firstly, I should note you won't have access to that until you get over 10,000 followers, which is annoying. And for us musicians, we want that. If you want to send people to Bandcamp or send people to wherever, you do want that. If you don't have 10,000 followers at the moment, you can use a swipe up feature for IGTV.
Right.
So you could do a promotional video that way, and at least they get to see more than the 59 seconds in the post or the 15 seconds on the stories.
That's good advice.
As far as has it helped, I'm not gonna lie and say everything was great once I got the swipe up feature. No, not particularly. It's a nice thing to have if you get some sort of a blog post and you want people to swipe into it, if somebody's written about you or something like that, or if you just want to send people somewhere.
Sure.
I can't say I've had enough data to say if it's helped me sell records or anything of that nature, or if it's got me new streams. I can't honestly say that. But equally, if you get opportunity to work with brands and stuff, some of them want you to have that as an option, and they might pay you for to basically have a swipe up post in your stories.
Sure.
So of course, if you want to push to get X amount of followers to get it, I would encourage that, but don't buy your followers, whatever you do.
No,
I know it's tempting. A lot of people sit there and think, oh, I just want to get enough to get the swipe up. Let me just buy 500 followers. But don't do that.
No.
Firstly, you're going to have it's likely to be bot accounts or spam accounts. The Instagram also clear those out every so often. So you might have just paid for something that you're going to lose in the next 2 months or whatever.
Sure.
So I wouldn't do that. But yeah, don't get hung up on the followers thing. those that have a high following, it doesn't mean that they're also gonna, it doesn't mean all those followers are gonna engage with their music either. Like I said before, 10% of the people who follow and engage with your account will actually see your content. So yeah, it's kind of apples and pears, really.
Yeah.
I wouldn't look on it and say that, okay, so this person's got 50,000 followers, so they can easily sell out a gig. Not
Yeah.
necessarily.
No.
Not necessarily.
So what you're saying is sorry.
No, I was just going to say, especially if you're asking people to spend money as well, it even reduces further. So so I've got what, 12.9 followers. If I'm expecting 10% of those to maybe engage with my music, that's just over 100. If I then want to sell a gig or a piece of merch to that person, let's narrow that down to a further 5% or something like that. So don't make assumptions when it comes to the numbers. They don't tell the whole story.
I'm with you.
But yeah, I get that people watch them and they might grade if you're worth interacting with by how many followers you've got or whatever. No, people will look at the content. If you've got good quality pictures and good quality content, that's what will gravitate people towards you. But like I say, surprise people, slide in the DMs and say hi. It works.
Yeah, we don't see that enough, do we?
I don't think so.
No, you're right. You're totally right. But look, this has been really fantastic. I think you've given more than I expected away, which is absolutely fantastic.
I can talk for Britain, so sorry if I waffle at any point.
No, not at all. Like I said, we need to come on another podcast. I wouldn't mind talking about the live side of things and a few other bits as well. But what you've given us today has been absolutely phenomenal. And I think a lot of musicians, even with a small following, I think they'll get a lot out of it, because it's not about, like you said, getting a lot of followers. It's also about engaging. Engagement's the key, isn't it?
It's that old nugget. It's quality, not quantity. You know, it really is that. But engagement is definitely the key. Because again, the numbers are going to yo-yo. You will get the whole follow unfollow thing. So don't get fixated on the numbers. But if those who do engage with you become regulars, when you do drop a new promotional thing, they're going to be the ones to listen to it. So
absolutely.
Yeah, give people a little bit of time if they've given it to you, and it seems to go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Mayah, thank you so much. I appreciate you giving up your time on this afternoon. This is absolutely brilliant. And like I said, we'll get another podcast, and we'll go into a few other bits and bobs that we didn't get on this podcast, if that's okay.
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
I'll track you down. Hopefully you haven't got a launch coming out, and we can get together and do this again. But anyway,
I'd love to.
Thank you so much. And yeah, we shall see you online.
Nice one, Des. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You take care.
And you.
So guys, that's it. That's all we got time for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Either Mayah or myself will get back to you. If you have any comments, just leave them down below, and we'll get back to you if you have any questions about marketing yourself on Instagram.